Seku Radio, Southwest Florida. Today our guest is Dr. Valerie Daverio. And we are talking about, we just finished with acupuncture. Now we're going to talk about cupping. Cupping, I saw something about cupping with Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is one of the greatest swimmer ever lived, as you remember. He used cupping to recover from a competition. So Dr. Valerie is going to elaborate on the technique of cupping today. Dr. Valerie, you specialize in acupuncture, and also I noticed you do cupping. What is a cupping?
Yes. Hi, Seku. Thanks again for having me. Cupping therapy, I love to talk about it because it is so interesting. And even though it's been around for thousands of years, it is getting more press these days. You see athletes with cup marks, especially Michael Phelps. They were very obvious because as a swimmer, his chest is bare, and you could see that his arms had these round circles, dark circles, like purplish, reddish circles on his muscles during the Olympics. So the whole world saw it. Cupping is a therapy that is part of what's taught in Chinese medical school, in addition to acupuncture. And it's a therapy where you take cups and you place them on the skin and create a suction, basically. So what happens is the skin sort of comes up into the cup. And what it does, and this is going to sound a little bit, Chinese medicine, but what we're doing is moving blood and energy, okay? What that means, and, so that everybody understands it, is that we're going to be moving energy and blood flow to those tissues. So, why do we do that? Well, we do that because, if an athlete like Michael Phelps is intensely competing, right? An athlete is intensely competing. You're pushing yourself all the time. Of course, when you work your muscles, there's lactic acid buildup and so forth. And so the cupping can help remove that quicker and faster. So after exercise, intense exercise and competition, you have a quicker recovery for muscles.
Good. So what are the benefits of cupping? I'm probably going to ask that again, so people will have an idea why a person like Michael Phelps and all the other great athletes do cupping.
Right. Well, for anyone who's listening that's not an Olympic athlete, right, there's a lot of benefits for cupping. A lot of times, and nowadays especially, where we spend so much time with our head down or our arms up typing at a computer, or we're looking down at our phone, our necks get sore, right? Our backs get a little bit sore. There's always tension in the neck and shoulder area, or low back pain is very, very common. And so what it can do for these application of cups on the large muscle group areas, it moves that energy and it pulls that, what I call, in my world, we call it stagnation. But basically it's like, when someone comes in and they say, gosh, I've got this big muscle knot here, right? The muscle knot. So if the muscle is super tight, there's there's capillaries in there that can't get the oxygen to the muscle cells, and the waste products from the cells can't get out. So the circulation is a little bit impaired. Not awful. I mean, the tissue's not dying, but it's not thriving, And so what we do with the cups is we take the cup and we place it on the skin. We create a little bit of suction. Yeah, and it pulls that stagnation up and out to the surface. And you may see that appear as we call it tiny petechia or petechiae. And it's sort of a collection of small pinpoint bruises, and then it dissipates over the next few days. But basically, you just feel relaxed. The muscle knot, let's say, dissipates. You have more range of motion. You have more ability to move. You don't have pain when you're stretching, and those type of things. The pain in the neck goes away. Your back feels better. All of that. Yeah.
That's great. What is the history, Dr. Valerie? What is the history of cupping? How long people have been using this technique in Asia and Southeast Asia?
Mm-hmm. Yes, cupping actually has been in China. There's even recorded history of it on papyrus scrolls, so from Egypt and other parts of the world, and dating back like 1750 BC, 2000 BC. It's in the Yellow Emperor's Classic, the Zhejiang, one of the books from 2000 BC that we study even today. And basically, of course, we didn't have plastic or glass in the very beginning. And so how did they do cupping? How did it come about? They would use, say, horns from animals like that would create sort of a cup, or even bamboo cups because they were more plentiful. And they would use, actually, in the beginning, it would be more fire cupping. So they would have a little bit of fire, and of course, when you heat air, the air molecules are farther apart. So you put the fire, the match, let's say, inside the cup to warm the air. You quickly take it out, and then you place the cup on the back of the person, or the muscle, or the leg, or the arm, wherever the pain is that you need to work. And as the air cools, the molecules come back together, of course, and then it raises the skin up, and it creates a suction between the cup and the skin of the person that you're working on. And, of course, nowadays we have the glass cups, and we also have, like, say, plastic. We have silicone, and some people still do fire cupping, which is phenomenal. And I choose to do suction cups, which has like a little gun that you attach to a suction cup gun. You attach to the plastic cup, and you just basically draw the air out of the cup, and you create a suction on the person. So it's evolved over the last few thousand years, and we've seen several different modalities and types and materials that were used for cups and cupping. But the purpose is about the same.
Great. It's a good story here. Why does the body turn purple when you do cupping?
That's a really great question. And I mentioned in just a moment ago that, like, in my world, when I see the purple, or sometimes it can be really dark purple, that would be more intense, what I would call stagnation, which is, I would say, stuck blood, but it's not really like a scab or a clot. It's not going to show up on an X-ray or an MRI as something that's stuck, an actual physical thing. But we would feel it as, say, a muscle knot or thickness in the skin, or a massage therapist might feel it in their hands when they're working. So what it is, in my world, I'll call it stagnation. So when the cup is replaced, the suction cup, it brings that stuck blood, stagnation to the surface of the skin to get rid of it. Now, here's what's really interesting, okay, is that not always do we find stagnation. So if the tissue is healthier, if there's good flow of energy and oxygen and not so much lactic buildup in the muscles and so forth, I may not even find any. So when I'm working with the cups, some of the skin might just turn pink. Well, that's going to go away in an hour or so, maybe 2 hours. But then sometimes I find this petechiae or petechiae, as you want to call it, that comes up, and they're pinpoint collection of bruises. So there's many of them. If you look really close at the purple spot or the purple circle from the cup, it would actually be a pinpoint of a collection of pinpoint small type bruises. And sometimes they're like a light pink, a light red, sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're really dark purple and black. And that would indicate to me the severity of the stagnation that I want to move out of the body. And so that's why we work. So if there's a condition, if there's stagnation, if there's something that needs to be moved, the petechiae will show up and you'll get the circles. If we just need to do a little bit with the energy and the energy needs to move, we need to move some circulation, sometimes we don't even get the petechiae to show up. And you won't have marks afterwards. So it's actually quite fascinating.
Fascinating. It is fascinating. Why does the skin bump up? That's one thing you noticed on Michael Phelps, the bump up of the skin. Can you elaborate on that, please, Dr. Valerie?
Oh, right. Of course. So that would be, when you create a suction with the cup, it does sort of pull the skin up, yes. And then, of course, sometimes you can see the actual, ring where the cup was. And, of course, we saw quite a bit of Michael Phelps consistently because he was in so many of the races at the Olympics. And so he was getting cupping, in between the races and then the evenings and so forth. And so some of that actually dissipates quite quickly, we were still able to see on the television. Mm-hmm. And it does. For him, it would go away quickly. But we were just seeing him pretty soon after he had the cupping done.
Right. I also saw on YouTube fire cupping. I know you don't do fire cupping. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Some people tend to put a fire on top of the cup. Some people don't do that. What's the difference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the purpose is the same. Very traditionally, of course, we used, I'm going to say traditionally, going back thousands of years in the history of cupping, the fire cups were used. Again, the purpose of the fire is just to heat the air inside the cup and then place it on the skin. And in my practice, I just choose not to do that. I think that, not having an open flame, there's less likelihood of something going amiss. That's all. So the purpose, though, is the same. So as long as you're able to effectively draw out the air, create a very good suction where the cup has a good, clean line on the skin, creates a suction, the end result is really going to be about the same. Yes. The fire cupping is it's very fun to watch. You have to be very, very good so that, nothing happens with the fire, it can't touch the person. Of course, you never want to ever have anything go wrong, a chance of burning someone or something like that. And you don't want the cup to actually get too hot because when you place it on the skin, you don't want to have a burning or a blistering of the skin. I choose not to have that in my particular practice. So I just do the suction cups. And I get fabulous results. People love it. And I don't have to deal with, fire at the same time. So that's my choice.
That's a great answer. Dr. Valerie, today we are on Seco Radio, Southwest Florida, and the world. We are listening to Dr. Valerie schooling us on cupping. It's a technique. It's been used in Asia for 1,000 years. And now some of the great athletes in the United States, such as Michael Phelps, is using it to recuperate and to get more stamina and intensity during his Olympic trial. So, Dr. Val,